Dear friends, this little chat is intended for members of the freedom parties and the freedom movement in Australia over the past year and a half. And I just wanted to mention why it is really, really important to understand what I'm trying to say here, because otherwise we are completely stymied. Both sides are, there's a kind of a impossible situation that's been created, and there will never be a solution. What we really want is the totalitarian policies to be removed, completely gone. And we also want this never to happen again. And we want accountability. I've always wanted accountability for these politicians for what they've done. What I'm noticing, however, is that the people who are most of them members of the freedom parties and the freedom movement are unable to see the forest for the trees. What do I mean by that? What I'm trying to say is that the reason why the vast majority of Australians are not listening to the Freedom Party people or the Freedom Movement people is because they think that the Freedom Party people or the Freedom Movement people are essentially lunatics. In their view, this has been such a terrible, severe pandemic, bigger than the Black Plague, bigger than the Spanish flu in any case. They're so convinced about this that they're not willing to listen to anyone who says, hey, vaccines actually may not really be the best solution in this case. Now, I don't need to really demonstrate my position on this issue, which has been very simple. From a risk-based analysis, I've always said that a vaccine might be considered by people who are above 75. And I think when I say consider, I don't mean I ask them to take it. I say they should consider. And I also basically, have insisted that everyone make up their own mind. They can consult their GP or they can consult any other specialist that they wish. But really, it's an informed consent issue. It's a bodily autonomy issue for me. So I'm not here to either, ask people to take a vaccine or to not take a vaccine. That's not my job. I'm not Craig Kelly. I'm not a doctor. He's become a doctor advising everyone to not take a vaccine or something. I don't do such things. I leave it to individuals to decide what they want to do to their own body. Having said that, there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misinformation, disinformation, propaganda, bad ideas promoted by people, even the reputed names, Peter McCullough, etc. I've seen his claims that this is going to kill more people than COVID. Unfortunately, there was no such basis for these claims. And I've already mentioned, the first person, there were a lot of these claims made, in probably the beginning of 2021 and so on. People saying that everybody's going to die after 6 months and so on. And I was basically saying, hey, guys, hold on. 6 months have passed since the trials took place. The trial people should have all died by now from the ADE or the, enhanced autoimmune disorder or whatever the ADE is. And so why are people not dying from the tests? And that is, I think, Dolores Cahill or something. And I basically said, look, she's wrong. She's very, very wrong. Throughout my life, by the way, this has been a typical pattern, and throughout the life of almost everybody in the world, that the number of people who exaggerate things get a lot of publicity, and there's no accountability for them, unfortunately, which is what's going to happen, I guess, to all these people like Scott Morrison, etc. So when people like Peter McCullough or Dolores Cahill make these wild claims about everybody being killed by ADE, etc., and then I look at the data, because I don't believe in anybody's claims. Okay, I believe only in the facts, and I look at my own. I look at the data myself, and from the very beginning, it's been clear there's never been any such evidence of ADE. And then I look at some of the scientific research, and I found that ADE had taken place for coronavirus vaccines a very long time ago, 10 or 15 years ago. And then they did obviously some improvements. And so by 2018, I've shared this recently on a Telegram, that there was no AD. They had already developed these vaccines for coronaviruses in 2018 and so on, and there was no particular AD happening, and there's no evidence. So what's going on is that a lot of misguided information has been pouring in, and people have taken that. They've just absorbed it as if it's the truth. It's not. You need to really verify the data yourself. Don't believe in me. I always tell everybody, don't believe me. Just go and look at the data yourself. And in fact, somebody shared the data of Ireland today, and in Ireland as well, there are no excess deaths virtually no excess deaths in 2020 or 2021 as well. And there should have been excess deaths in 2021, right? Because that's when the vaccines took place. And so there's no such evidence happening in Australia, definitely not in Sweden. Absolutely zero excess deaths in Sweden in 2021. So what I'm trying to say here is that the people who've sort of been made to believe that this particular vaccine is going to kill everybody they've sort of been misguided. Okay. And by all means, be clear that this is, there are a lot of side effects, and I believe that there are genuinely, concerns about that. And I have always repeatedly said, and I think the Federation Party, or Australia's representative, it was at that stage, we sort of we made it very clear that we wanted the vaccine rollout to stop because we wanted this to be fully tested and checked for safety. So I think these issues are all okay. The vaccine issues, we're on the same page, essentially saying, yeah, there should be bodily autonomy. We should not roll out vaccines when there's so many side effects, etc. But you think about the thing from the perspective of the vast majority of Australians who've been, thinking of COVID as something bigger than Spanish flu, something like the, Black Plague, or even bigger. For these people, a vaccine is their salvation. For the vast majority of Australians, the vaccine has been their salvation. They've been waiting for it. They go desperately. They book the thing the moment it is made available. So you see the contradiction going on here, that while the freedom people, many of them, basically have become anti-vaxxers, genuine anti-vaxxers, they actually don't want the vaccine, which is, I thought, a different position from where we started, which was about bodily autonomy. And so it became more like an extremist position. No, we don't want it. Okay. What's your evidence? You believe it's killing people? It's not. And it's now been such a long time since the tests were done. There are no mass scale deaths happening. There's no evidence of that. There's there's definitely a small number of deaths, and that's bad. And then there's all these side effects. But as I said, you got to move away. If you are in this position, you got to move away from being a so-called anti-vaxxer into being an objective person and looking at the facts yourself. So I have, no particular recommendation on this matter, but I need people to start thinking about why they are themselves in a state of hysteria. A vast number of people, they become vaccine fanatics, which is what I call them, or they become vaccine hystericals, insane effectively. When does a person get insane? When the sense of proportion is lost. That's the fundamental point about insanity, which is exactly what happened with the COVID hysteria, that everybody became insane. They start thinking it's bigger than what it is. And in that case, what happens is that they do things which they would actually ultimately harm themselves, their children, their future generations. So with the vaccine as well, it's important to keep tab on this and be very careful and all those good things and have bodily autonomy and all those things. But please do not exaggerate the deaths from vaccines. There is actually no evidence of such deaths on any large scale. And I think I've said it for more than 8 months or 9 months. I can't see anything. And now it's more and more clear as more and more data come out that there is absolutely no proof that the vaccines are killing on any large scale. So if that's the case, then if you just calm down your own vaccine hysteria, and then please support me in this particular business of solving Australia's problems. What I want us to do together, and this is an appeal to everybody who's in the freedom movement, etc., to stop thinking about the vaccine for now. It is not a big deal. You don't want it, fine, don't take it, whatever. All those things are fine. But please, the first step for us is to stop the hysteria, the COVID hysteria. The data are very clear on this. The Sweden's data are very clear. I think I've showed repeatedly. I made a video the other day and shared it, basically saying that the average of 2019 and 2020, the mortality rate average is the same as that of 2018. And this is official Swedish data. And if that's the case, then we have conclusive evidence that COVID has never been a significant pandemic. And that is the kind of information. And of course, John Ioannidis has written to me, and he said that this is between 50 to 500 times less lethal than the Spanish flu, and up to 500 times. Remember, he's saying very large numbers here. Okay, and then we have the evidence from the United Kingdom, where they've reported the parliament that the infection fatality rate of this thing is 0.096%, which is the same as that of seasonal flu. And so we have this conclusive evidence that this has been a very, very modest pandemic by any standard. In fact, it's invisible in the data of Sweden. And as you look at our, today somebody shared the Ireland data, it's pretty much invisible in the Ireland data as well. So, and the only time we can actually know about the magnitude of the pandemic was in 2020, particularly in Sweden, because you didn't have any lockdowns, didn't have border closures. So it just went on. And then we saw that there were two waves. And interestingly, there were two waves also in England, in the UK, and the death rate in England was much higher than that of Sweden. So I'm working on that project separately right now to prove that lockdowns increase the deaths for COVID as well, except in island nations like New Zealand and Australia and so on, where they can potentially delay the deaths. Okay, so that's been a separate exception. But basically, on average, they've actually increased the COVID deaths. So what we want the common person to get to know is this information. Okay, so if you can help me and help yourself, basically, if you can calm down the common average Australian and stop them from being insane about this COVID thing, and they're in a state of hysteria, absolutely crazy. Okay, the kind of belief that they have is nonsense. But they've been drummed into this belief by the politicians, by the media, and the big tech, and so on. So there's no other choice except to go and drop things in their mailbox, talk to them individually. I've done this myself, and I've seen the responses and I've seen the results. And so you have to do a lot of it. You have to talk to these people, discuss it, and let them study it on their own. People want to know if they've been cheated, and I think we need to tell them that they've been cheated on a large scale. And once they understand this, okay, it's only then that everything else changes. It's only then that the Liberal and Labour parties are wiped out. It's only then that the Freedom parties can actually come back and govern Australia and change it for the better in the future. Otherwise, as I'm saying, if you are going to remain in a state of hysteria, then be assured that you are actually harming yourself the most. Any state of hysteria, any extra response, any disproportionate response always harms the person who is going into that state. So if you are so scared of the vaccine, which you shouldn't be from all the facts of the case, then what you're doing is you're completely ignoring the link between the COVID hysteria and the mandates. Because of the COVID hysteria, these mandates exist. Okay, so if you can't see the link because your mind is completely shut down, then I call you insane or stupid or hysterical or whatever. Cut it out, stop it, stop being stupid. You have harmed yourself for 1.5 years. I've raised this for so many times. For more than 20 months, I've been saying, don't waste time talking about the vaccines to anybody. Tell them about the magnitude of the pandemic and why they should not be scared of COVID. And if that fear of COVID goes, then nobody wants these vaccine mandates anyway. Right now, the politicians have been doing the vaccine mandates because they're fully backed by the entire majority of Australians who want these mandates. They want the border closures, they want lockdowns, and so on. And so that is what you need to attack. And you cannot attack it if your mind is screwed up completely. It's gone crazy. You're only thinking, oh, obsessive, oh, vaccine. Stop it. The only way you're going to get the common person of Australia to stop demanding vaccine mandates is for them to stop to lose the fear of COVID. And they will only lose the fear of COVID if you only give them this information, nothing else. Do not dump your vaccine flyers into their mailboxes. Only tell them specifically and only about the magnitude of the pandemic. I've been putting out flyers. I've been going around walking in Bolin. I've done it today, and I'll continue doing this every day for the next 5 months. That is my plan. And if you can help do it, I can prepare these kind of similar things for you guys. And but please don't go outside the scope of this particular topic. Unless the people stop becoming hysterical, unless they realize that they've been cheated, you've got no chance in hell. You've got zero chance in hell of persuading them that the vaccine mandate should not be there. Okay, they're going to do it, and they're going to do other things as well, and they're going to harm themselves and harm everybody in the process. So there are two kinds of mad people in this country at the moment. The main mad people or the insane people are the COVID hysterics. They are completely frightened of COVID. Okay, they cannot see any logic. I've come across so many of them. They will not see logic. How do you get to them? You have to repeat this information. You have to ask them to check it out themselves. You may, you have conversations with them. You need to do this. And you cannot at that stage talk about the vaccines. You cannot bring your own hysteria and your own fears and your own stupidity, if I may say, given the data. You cannot bring that into the topic. If you bring it into the topic, you've lost. You've lost completely, because they are going to simply say, hey, we need the vaccines and we need everyone to take it, and we want you to take the mandate and so on and so forth. You are lost. The moment you bring the vaccine into the conversation, you're finished. And that's exactly what Craig Kelly has destroyed. Palmer has destroyed. All these hundreds of millions of dollars burnt, destroyed. All the freedom rallies, all the movement, everything destroyed, because you guys could not even get this point in your head. Do not talk about the vaccines to the common person. Stop their hysteria. They are completely insane. They're afraid to death. If you can't understand that they're afraid to death of COVID, and then you go on talking about things that actually can help them in their mind, a vaccine, then you're seen as insane and they don't want to listen to you. I don't know if I can get this across to you. I've been saying this for 20 months. I thought I'll say it again today, because I keep getting these emails, messages, people saying I'm a stupid man, blah, blah, blah. I'm not stupid. You are the stupid ones. When this gets into your head that you're the stupid ones, you've destroyed, you had 5 chances: the West Australia election, the Queensland election, the Djokovic incident, where basically it's the whole majority of the country says throw him out, arrest him and throw him out. Then you have South Australia, then you have federal elections. 5 times you've been defeated by the hysterical people of Australia, and yet you don't want to listen. Yet you are insisting that vaccine is the only thing that you want to talk about. Well, in that case, I can guarantee you will remain in a totalitarian country forever. And if you want me to help you, and if you want us to work together, then you please follow what I'm saying. I've been saying for 20 months. I hope it gets into your head finally, now at least. When exactly are you going to wake up? When are you going to start realizing that the first step is to stop the COVID hysteria? Go out with the information that shows the people that the COVID pandemic has been very modest. Explain to them. Let them do the calculations themselves. Let them find out the information themselves by giving them, my articles, various things that I've been producing, etc. Show them the stuff. I'll prepare brochures for you if you want. Help me in Bulleen constituency, for example. But that's not really the point. The point is, across Australia, you need to stop this COVID hysteria first. Once the COVID hysteria stops, there will be no demand for vaccine mandates. There will be a demand for accountability of all these politicians. The entire majority of these people will wake up and say, we want to bring them, get them behind bars, all these kind of people, Dan Andrews, Scott Morrison, whatever. But that stage will not come if the only thing that's in your mind, the obsessive thing, vaccine, 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 vaccine. Stop it. When are you going to stop it? 5 times you've lost. You keep losing every single time. And yet you don't learn. What does it mean? You're insane. And I'm explaining this again and again for hundreds of times, and I'm going to stop it finally. I'll keep on doing what I need to do. I don't know when you're going to wake up. But if you don't wake up even now, please just be sure that in the coming election in Victoria, either the Labor or Liberals will come in. I can guarantee the Labor, but who knows, the Liberals might come in, but it's not going to be anybody else. Okay. So if that helps you to stop your insanity and to start thinking clearly, Step one, stop the COVID hysteria. I hope this gets into your head. All right, best of luck.